comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's alright.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chip Chesson. Evan and Julie, for 11 years, lived across the pond from us, from Frida and I, my wife. Welcome to everyone who has come from near and far to gather to remember Julie's life and times. This Remembrance gathering is truly Julie's creation. Initially, she was resistant to the idea of a memorial service. Since her family and she were not religious, at least formally, she felt it would be a fraud to have a memorial. However, once she realized that it was all of us rather than her, she jumped in full bore and left Evan a 3-page, single space, small font document outlining what she wanted. And she called this her Remembrance Gathering. From the choice of the music to the video, we have done our best to create her vision. important parts of Julie's life was growing up as the youngest of the 4 J's. This is what the girls refer to themselves as: Jan, Jill, Jody, and Julie. Please welcome Jan and Jill, who will tell us about Julie as their baby sister.
Hi, first I want to thank everybody who came from such a great distance and all the local people. I think Julie would have been overwhelmed to see the number of people that have shown up for her today. Sorry. I want to talk a little bit more about the 4 J's. It really wasn't something we generated, it was just happened. But it was the 1950s, and there were 4 kids 2 years apart, and I think we didn't realize until recent years how much it meant to us. I might have to Meredith read this for me.
I can read it.
No,
Okay.
Jan's gonna take over. I don't.
Okay. So the 1950s family, so there were 4 girls, 2 years apart. Our names all begin with J and go in alphabetical order. And our parents claimed that it wasn't planned, but
Not believable.
yeah. For whatever reason, but our family has this well documented in that my father started annual Christmas cards, which had a picture of the 4 of us on the front once Julie was a young baby and there were 4 of us. He also wrote a poem each year talking about what had happened the year before, and these are very precious to us. Now we were often very embarrassed by them. One of the pictures, we were all wearing cowboy or cowgirl outfits. I call the blackmail picture. So that, as I said, that was very important to us. Julie turned 63 on December 1st, which seems much too soon for it to be over. She was only 11 when I went to college and 13 when Jill went to college, and we were mostly separated by large distances and our busy lives. Each of us lived in multiple states. We didn't often see each other for periods of time and didn't often know the details of each other's daily lives, but still losing her is such a huge blow. And knowing she was there was like a touchstone to all of us. So we're very lucky that in the 2 years since she was ill, we were really able to spend a lot more time together. And as her activities were increasingly limited by her condition, she spent some time watching television. Old Perry Mason shows from the 60s became a favorite. These are, amazingly enough, broadcast many hours a day nationally, or many hours a day, or many hours weekly nationally. And we have memories that became a routine and now are cherished memories that we would exchange multiple daily text messages talking about the episodes, the wardrobes especially. I sent Jill a pair of white gloves knowing that she didn't have some anymore. We would discuss the amusing guest stars who were often people that hadn't made it big yet. So Perry and Della held us together when we were physically in separate spaces. Julie talked to Jill some years ago about being a very passionate person, and Jill had time to think this over more in the past 2 years and realize that it's very true, and I agree. It was a very good characterization of herself. There are so many things that she loved and cared deeply about, and we wanted to share a short list of those things to the people who are here today that are connected to Julie in various ways and from various time periods. but perhaps each of you will recognize a piece of the list and the things you loved. So, number 1, blue, especially Kentucky blue. You want me to go on? Okay.
I think I can do it, we'll see. Potatoes, which Julie loved in any form, any time. She was huge on social life, parties, any sort of entertaining, and she was excellent at it. Another thing I always admired is she always looked fabulous. Unlike some of her other sisters who didn't devote much attention to their makeup and hair, Julie always made an effort, and she always looked incredible. Great clothes. I'm sure everybody remembers that about her. And I want to mention Pi Phi. A couple people have questioned where the arrow and the name tags came from, and that's where it's a Pi Phi emblem. And some of her friends, it was very meaningful to her. She worked as a volunteer for the sorority many years after she finished school, and traveled nationally and was a national officer, and that always meant a lot to her. Also white wine, which Julie felt was good at any time, anywhere. It improved any situation. And golf, which our father was an excellent golfer, and Julie was really the only one of us who ever took the game up with any skill. And she became quite devoted and got Evan involved, and I'm sure a lot of you in North Carolina know how important that was to her, and it was really saddened her when she was forced to give golf up by her illness. And one thing that impressed me incredibly was she and Evan made the effort this Christmas, just a few weeks ago, to get to Paris, which was a long-time dream of Julie's. She hadn't been there in over 30 years. And she was determined, as was Evan, that they were going to make it for that last trip. They did it somehow, and I think they had a great time, although it was not easy. And the last thing on our list of things she was passionate about has to be Evan, because he was here for her for the last 2+ very difficult years. And I think she was never happier in her adult life than since they've been together, which I think all of us who know Julie appreciated how great it was to see her happy. And I think the list of her favorite things the rest of my life, whenever I see some of the things, I will always, it's going to bring her to mind, and I'm sure a lot of you have the same memories of her. Again, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jace. Next to speak are Lori Betts and Ann Bradley, who became friends with Julie through the Crosdale Country Club Golf Association and Julie's passion for the game of golf.
Forgive me, but I'm blind at my advanced age and I need glasses, so thank you, Chip. Hi, my name is Ann Bradley, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of myself, Lori Betts, and the other friends of Julie from the Crosdale Women's Golf Association. We are here today to honor our friend Julie Mercer. We met Julie and Evan when they joined Crosdale Country Club, and through the Crosdale Women's Golf Association, we bonded almost immediately with Julie and became fast friends over two of Julie's passions, which you've heard about, golf and wine, which just happen to be our passions as well. We played in tournaments together, league play, we practiced and worked on event committees together, and Julie jumped in as a very active member of the group from the beginning. The 19th hole at the club and Julie and Evan's backyard overlooking the pond were our perfect locations to linger over a glass of wine and discuss the shots of the day, life, and anything else that came to mind. We could spend hours like this, and we did. As many of you may know, the golf is not an easy game. You never really have the game mastered. And if you've ever watched a golf tournament, even the professionals can birdie a hole one day and double bogey that same hole the next, which if you're not a golfer, a double bogey is not a good thing. But the game of golf does something else too. It constantly tests your mental toughness and your patience. Many have said that golf is as much a mental game as it is a physical one, and I believe that to be true. One of the things that was striking about Julie was her mental toughness. Regardless of how her game was going, she was always upbeat and even-keeled. In fact, it was this mental toughness and her ability to stay positive that made it so much fun to play golf with her. Her toughness was what we also saw on full display after her diagnosis. What I understand now is that it was really Julie's joy that was on full display in those early days. Her joy at being able to get out on the course and play, her joy in her work, which she adored, her joy in her family, and her joy at simply being able to sit and talk with friends. Julie was incredibly modest. She did not find joy in being the center of attention or in her possessions. Rather, her joy seemed to be in the simple things. Her husband, Evan, her family, her fur babies that you've seen some pictures of, her beautiful home, and her passions. So when her devastating diagnosis came, stage 4, melanoma of the liver, she carried on with that same strength and toughness. During the almost 2.5 years of her illness, I only saw Julie cry on 3 occasions. Just 3 days when the enormity of it all was too much to bear, when her sense of guilt for not being able to keep up her end of the bargains on plans that she had made, plans with Evan, plans with her family, and with her work became too much. I can tell you honestly that Lori and I cried much more than Julie. What Julie was able to do was to continue to laugh. Lori, Julie, and I went wig shopping soon after her hair started thinning from the cancer treatments. And it was quite the scene. We were like 3 teenage girls in the dressing room, in hysterics, in wigs. There was one wig especially that had Julie looking like the love child of a young Paul McCartney and Justin Bieber. And we were in stitches. I think the staff actually came in to check on us to make sure everyone was all right. But what I remember most about that day is that Julie looked absolutely stunning in every wig she tried on. She was a beautiful woman, and that was the one thing cancer could not take. Julie and I were able to go golfing a couple more times after her diagnosis, and my favorite was our last outing in August of last year. We actually played a full 18 holes, and Julie played amazingly well. Her joy at being back on the course and playing well was palpable and contagious. It was almost like the cancer wasn't there. Unfortunately, the cancer was still there, and a very short time later, the hospice decision came. I think we were all a bit stunned because Julie appeared to be doing so well. And what I know now is that hospice is what it's called when the professionals have no more therapies to try. The hospice team was truly amazing, and Julie appreciated everything that they did. But when it first started, one of the hospice nurses would ask Julie at every visit if she was having any hallucinations. It seemed an odd question, and finally Julie, deadpan as always, responded, "No, but I could use one if you're giving them out." As if the cancer therapy hadn't been hard enough over the past 18 months, the hospice designation started an exceptionally hard time for Julie, as she struggled to regain her footing when everything that she loved was being taken away. But even in the darkest moments, she persevered and emerged to acceptance and to finding joy again. She couldn't golf any longer, but she started reading more. She found Perry Mason, journaling, and making plans, even though she knew she would not be part of them. Lori, Julie, and I were able to meet for lunch a couple weeks before Julie died, and it was likely one of her last outings. And even though she was much more interested then about hearing how Lori and I were doing, what was going on in our lives, than talking about what she was going through. She was truly one of the most selfless people we've known. So we are here today to say goodbye and to celebrate all that Julie was. A wonderful, caring, and considerate friend, a beautiful wife, a loving sister, a great golfer who absolutely adored the game, and an incredibly strong woman even during the most difficult challenge of her life. I only wish that we'd have had more time, more golf, more wine, more tournaments, and more laughs. Godspeed, Julie. You will be forever missed.
Julie joined Pi Beta Phi in 1973, her sophomore year at the University of Kentucky. Her big sister at UK was Ray Maier. She will tell us about the years at the university. Melissa Schmidt will tell us about the years together as national officers.
It was through Pi Beta Phi that Julie and I became friends. While never living close, we were always, never even living remotely close, we always had a friendship that was untold for over 40 years. Many of you here may not see Julie as a sorority girl, but when she transferred to University of Kentucky in 1973, I believe she was looking for friendship. And I think that's what we all were when we joined. We wanted friends. I had pledged my freshman year at UK, and Julie joined the following year. We had 3 things in common. We had both graduated from high school in 1972. We both came from families with just sisters as siblings. Neither of us had brothers. Julie had the 3 J's, and I had 2 sisters. And then we were both from out of state. So we didn't have any friends at Kentucky. So I think that's what drew us together. We naturally bonded, and I became Julie's big sis. While they said she was a crazy partier, I didn't see her as a crazy partier at UK. But she was a quiet leader. She loved the beauty of the Kentucky horse farms. We'd go to Keeneland Racetrack in the fall and spring meetings. We'd dress up in our finery, and they still do today. Those were fun memories. We had a lot of fun as a chapter. The Sigma Nu Beer Blast that all the campus went to. We had formals twice a year. And one of the things that our chapter was known for, we had a lot of athletes that weren't Julie and me, but we were known for our flag football team, and we were always on the sideline cheering them on. Our chapter had a beautiful house at 409 Columbia Avenue, and it's still there in Lexington. We were a fairly young chapter in the early 70s, and we kind of had a dip in membership. So at that time, when we were all free, like Julie was in the dorm her sophomore year, but then we all were expected to live in the house. So I lived in it for 3 years, and Julie her junior and senior year. And this takes back in time where we had a house mom. We had formal dinner every night at 5:30 where we said grace and went in. And then in the second floor was a TV room where we watched the soap operas and came together. If anybody was doing anything, you came to the second floor TV room. But those were really bonding years, and we really became close friends because we lived together. Julie was a chapter officer, again, a quiet leader. She was a chapter secretary her junior, senior year. We both graduated in 1976, and then I got married, and Julie was in my wedding, and I counted back in the picture, and there were 23 Pi Phis there. So again, that was showing what our friendship really were, true friendship. Julie really tried to keep our connection closer. We connected through phone calls. She would always be the first to say, "Are you going to homecoming? What's happening?" You know, always kept us together. And then, and so as I had 3 children, we connected either in Kentucky or where she lived in DC or New Jersey. I have to share this story because we're in Durham. My daughter I live in Kentucky. She went to Duke for her undergrad. And at the time, Julie was director of Russian Extension, and she wrote her recommendation. And I have to chuckle today because Amy was cut. She never became a Pi Phi. But then my second daughter, Emily, went to Miami of Ohio and joined Pi Phi. And the photo in the top corner that Evan pulled is Julie. This is how much she cared. She came to Emily's initiation there and join me at a special time. So that's what kind of a friend she was. Julie submitted my name to be a volunteer for Pi-Phi, and I still volunteer today, and some of you know that I do. But she was a leader all through her alumni years. And Melissa Schmidt, she wasn't at UK, she went to Ohio University, but she's going to share some of how Julie really was involved in Pi Beta Phi, and it was a real big part of her life.
I met Julie in 1989 in upstate New York. I was a chapter advisor, and she was the province president, overseeing several chapters in New York and New Jersey. In 91, I moved to Virginia, and Pi Phi called to ask me if I would also be a province president for our Pennsylvania chapters. Before I accepted, my first phone call was to Julie. I viewed her as a mentor and sought her guidance. She was so encouraging. I took the position. Over the next few years, Julie was incredibly supportive, giving guidance and serving as a sounding board. I observed her with her collegiates at workshops and conventions. Julie nurtured the women, and in turn, they have volunteered for Pi Phi. Julie had a gift for recognizing future leaders and supporting their growth. We were elected to directors in 1993, and our friendship continued to grow. We worked together on extensions, bringing new Pi Phi chapters to Creighton and Lehigh universities. She had a huge impact on Pi Phi for developing leaders that continue today to volunteer for our sisterhood. Finally, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things.
Another important part of Julie's life, her past life, important part of Julie's life in the past few years was working with Edward Jones. Julie Kelly, her friend, mentor, we'll say a few words now about Julie and what it was like to work with her.
I was kind of hoping that today would be outside so I could wear some big sunglasses so you couldn't see me. Hopefully not cry throughout this. Thank you, Chip, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. As Chip shared, I am Julie Kelly, and Julie was part of my team at Edward Jones. Growing up, I never really thought I'd be in this position to be up here at a remembrance service for one of my closest friends at this stage of my life.
You see, when I was growing up as a kid, I always remembered, or I was envisioned, my closest friends would be kids I went to school with, or perhaps the friends I made while living in New York City, or even the neighbors that live on our street. And all these people had become dear friends to me. But what I never really envisioned in my life is that one of my closest friends would be someone almost over 25 years older than me, who also worked with me for several years. I guess I just assumed growing up that with age that difference, we wouldn't have too much to relate to, but my, was I wrong. When looking back on my friendship with Julie, I thought I would share what I love most about her or a memory or two. So I'll start with a memory. It's hard for me to grasp at times that Julie's no longer here with us, and that she had to leave this beautiful world at such a young age. But if there's one thing that gives me comfort, it's a memory that I recently had of her. Last fall, I met her for lunch at Saladelia. This was at a point that Julie hadn't expressed much emotion to many people around her. It was a tough lunch. She expressed through the tears that many people hadn't reacted at that one time the way that she had hoped. She shared that she was having a hard time finding true joy in things. But what's the point, she said. Well, we talked through all these emotions the best I knew how at that lunch, and I finally asked her, if there was one thing you could do, just one more thing you could do, what would it be? And through her tears, she shared that if there was one thing she could do before she passed away, it was go to Paris. But she said, it's probably just too late. Of course, I immediately said, what? No, it's not.
It's 2018, they have wheelchairs. They can wheel you up onto that plane, wheelchair you off that plane, and frankly, just get a room that looks at the Eiffel Tower. Well, a couple of months later, as we've heard already, she did it. She got to go see Paris, which is another dream of hers. And it makes me so happy, Evan, that you find a way to make that happen. And it makes me so comforted that you gave her that one last dream that she shared with me that day. Another brief memory of Julie I wanted to share is a little bit more about our inner workings of our relationship and our friendship. She was a true mentor to me. When stressed in life, balancing 3 kids and a demanding career, she always had the wisdom and life experience to help me keep perspective. I'll never forget that little gleam in her eye, frankly it might have been a roll in her eye, in our office, that she would give me when she'd see me getting really worked up and stressed about something that really wasn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. She always had a way of providing a confident calmness in our office that I cherished so much. I always felt like I got so much more from her than I ever gave to her. Until one day I got a note from her in the mail about a month ago. And that's when it hit me, that we have the power to impact people greater than we will ever realize in this world. Inside the note it said, "Julie, I can't thank you enough for your support, kindness, love, and friendship you have shown through this tough time. I saw this card today and immediately thought of you and wanted to send to you. It speaks to who you were every day in our office and as a friend." The outside of the letter had a quote by Winston Churchill, and it read, "We make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give." Julie, I want you to know you were the greatest mentor to me in my life, and you made a life by giving. I vow to live by this quote for the rest of my life, and for those of you who are here, we're actually in the process of turning this quote into a painting. It'll be hung in our office as a memorial to Julie going forward, so please feel free to come by and see it. So finally, to wrap it up, reflecting back, I'll never forget the love and admiration Julie had and Evan had for my children. This wasn't a hey, they're kind of cute reaction. She and Evan had a true, genuine love for my children, and it meant the world to me. I won't forget a lunch I had with Evan and Julie right after Adeline was born. I met them for lunch in Durham, and I brought Adeline with me as a baby. I learned very quickly, be very careful of handing over a baby to Evan and Julie. You might just not get her back. They held her and cuddled her and hugged her and loved my sweet Adeline for that entire lunch as if it was their own. When Julie left our office and was never able to return, this love never stopped. I would wake up some mornings and get text messages that came through at odd hours of the night when Julie couldn't sleep due to some medicine she was on or night sweats that were keeping her up, asking and requesting for more pictures of my 3 little children. She said the dogs just brought her true joy and happiness in this dark time. So to wrap things up, I thought I would do it with a little tradition we do with our children. Every night, my husband Brad and I sing to our children before they go to sleep. It might not be the prettiest of tone. Trust me, sometimes there are giggles, but our children adore it. They get maybe 2 if they've been really good, but at least 1 song every night before they go to bed. I find as a child, it helps them feel comforted and loved as they go to sleep and rest. And my hope is as we sing one of their songs, the first verse of it, which is Amazing Grace Together, for all of us to be comforted and for Evan to be comforted, that she will rest comfortably going forward and rest in peace with God on this day. So I'll start it, but I don't have a great voice. So the first verse is in your chair, and I just thought we could all sing it to her so that she may rest in peace and comfort. I think everybody hopefully knows the tune to it. So, Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. Thank you.
Now we will hear Julie's words as read by her husband, Evan.
Today, I'm going to read excerpts from a journal that Julie started when she entered hospice in August of 2017. She prefaces the journal with this statement: "You should not read this unless you are willing to forgive my shortcomings and thoughts, because they will not meet your expectations of who you think you know I am. I always thought I wanted to be a person that other people liked and counted on as a good friend. I wanted to fit in and be a part of the group. Perhaps that comes from being the youngest of 4 children, always trying to keep up with the sisters. That's still very important to me, but is it all I want? Well, of course not. But I feel I have been successful in that endeavor. I was never someone that dreamed of curing incurable disease, longed for stardom, or felt entitled to be someone famous. I wanted to be a well-liked, respected person and friend. In reality, ever since the diagnosis of the recurrence of the melanoma, I have failed to be that person. I have become a patient every day, all day. Hospice has an ugly connotation. It means you are dying. Yes, we are all dying day by day, but hospice means you are dying sooner, very much sooner, not later. In 1990, I had a malignant melanoma removed by surgery. At the time, the doctor recommended no further treatment. Just visit the dermatologist annually for a checkup. Flash forward to December 2015. After 25 years of annual checkups with the dermatologist, I had been having difficulty eating, digesting, and fighting daily fatigue. After many MD visits, various GI and blood tests, my doctor sent me to the ER, suggesting my gallbladder should probably be removed. The ER visit was a long series of tests after tests, and hour after hours of doctors conferring over what seemed to be a conundrum. Finally, sometime in the middle of the night, a white-coated doctor came into the room and simply said, "You've had melanoma, right?" I said, "Yes, back in 1990, but I had surgery to have it removed." The next exchange crushed me. The doctor said, "Well, I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but you have metastatic melanoma, cancer of the liver, stage 4, and you know what that means." My husband and I, both speechless, stared at the doctor, waiting for some kind of reassurance, like, "So this is what we'll do to fix it." As I feared, the doctor did not say anything else except something along the lines of, "Okay, well, you'll have to see an oncologist and discuss your options." Really? That's it? That's all you've got? I thought to myself. How could this happen when I followed the doctor's orders of annual dermatology visits, had great health in general, and did what I was supposed to do? Well, I have learned that making plans is not a good thing. You cannot depend on plans. They get changed and crushed. They get rearranged. Plans do not help in times of chaos. Plans give you a false sense of security, and in my case, probably sent me deeper down the rabbit hole. I no longer had a plan for the rest of my life. I had retirement planning coming up. I had a job I really enjoyed and contributed to as an active, enthusiastic team member. I was, quote, old, but I woke up every morning wanting to go to work. I was not one of those people I knew who dreaded heading to the office. I enjoyed my job, my mentor, and I learned new things daily. If it was not a work day, I planned to be on the golf course with my friends and husband. That was not the norm amongst my friends and colleagues. I felt lucky. Lucky until that day. I thought I was prepared to die. I was wrong. I know now I was so wrapped up in doing what needed to be done for paperwork and organization, I missed out on finding a way to make every day count. Not just for me, but for everyone who was a part of my life. I said tongue-in-cheek just the other day, there is no joy in Mudville. That's it. It's pretty simple. When you no longer seek, find, or create joy, the rabbit hole gets darker and deeper. How to go about finding joy is a perplexing puzzle that I cannot solve. I think many people can grab onto a brass ring of any kind and make that work. At best, that seems an inauthentic existence, and not one I care to pretend. I spy many pretenders who have what they consider to be my, quote, best interest at heart, end quote. They do not understand anything about me or how I will die or leave this world or even how I feel today. Focus on finding joy. What a mantra. It sounds like such bullshit. Maybe tomorrow it won't be so elusive. A new day. Today is still dark outside this morning as I organize my bills, personal notes, and breakfast. My weekly hospice nurse appointment is this morning, so I like to have any paperwork or questions ready for the meeting to keep it moving. My tote file cabinet keeps my calendar, hospice paperwork, and miscellaneous other documents at my side. Any effort to help me feel some sense of control is welcome to me. It's almost like getting ready to go to the office to a meeting as I chuckle to myself. Oh, I wish that was what I was doing right now. After the meeting with the nurse, I'll be heading to our financial advisor's office for some help in completing additional insurance paperwork, along with a few other transactions. That seems like somewhat of a normal day. It's confusing being healthy enough to have a normal day, but knowing I'm under hospice care. Really confusing. I can almost forget sometimes that the Grim Reaper is sitting on my shoulder. Almost, but just not quite. Today, I'm heading out for a drive and lunch with my friend Mary. Another anonymously normal thing to do. Lunch, some window shopping. Sounds so civilized. Wow. Into the driveway pulls a two-seater Porsche Boxer convertible sports car. My friend Mary had decided to cross off one of her bucket list items on this Saturday afternoon, and I got to ride along. It was fun. I mean, really fun. But fun is not and will not replace joy. That's a very important point, to be careful not to confuse them. It feels weird to run errands or whatever on my own when the hospice nurse has indicated that I should have my do not resuscitate form on my person if I'm out of the house. Okay, I get it. I'm making an effort to get some exercise two or three times a week by doing a short walk around the neighborhood. So in my pocket it goes for a 35-minute trek I take. If I'm out for a while, I take it then. Weird isn't the right word. It feels unnerving. Today was a banner day for me. I had not played a round of golf since September of 2015 in my pre-diagnosis life. Today, I played 18 holes. Yes, all 18 holes. My friend Ann and I tooled around, enjoyed the company and weather, as if it were just one of our regular Sunday games we had played dozens of times. My game wasn't pretty, but it was about getting out and doing it, no matter what it looked like. It felt good. When can I play again? I need to temper my excitement, as it may be a short-lived resurgence of energy and ability right now. But it was such a great day. I did not feel like a patient. I was just another anonymous weekend golfer. Unbelievable. And that was the last time that Julie ever swung a golf club. A new week is here. The dogs and cats and I are planning out our schedules. The dogs and cats are included as I am literally surrounded by them. It is quiet as we wait for the sun to come up and take our walk down to fetch the papers for the day. In the last week or so, I feel my health is starting to decline. I'm trying to be upbeat and do as much as I can. But I feel every day it's a lot more than ever. I am sinking farther and faster down that rabbit hole I thought I had peeked out of just weeks ago. It had been so helpful to have something planned to look forward to on the calendar there the last couple of months. Right now the calendar is open with preciously little, nothing planned. The void is overwhelming and I cannot keep from crying. I'm so tired of crying because it doesn't make one feel better and it doesn't help. But I can't stop the tears coming at the oddest and most inopportune times. They just flow with nowhere to go. A day or two ago, I told my husband I was done cooking. Just done. I have loved cooking for most of my adult years, but the former reward I felt has evaporated. Now it just takes up time and then you have to clean up after yourself. Life's mundane chores are taking up what precious time I have left on this earth because it affords a modicum of control. Control is a four-letter word, no doubt about it. But I can't seem to stop it rushing at me on a daily basis. Still having trouble with the waterworks. Just can't seem to stop tearing up over seemingly innocent comments. But it is what it is, I guess. Something inevitably will come up in conversation or just in a memory that will cause me to be so very emotional and sad that I just start crying. It's distressing to me because I am not a crier by nature. You all know that. You know, one of those people that cry, quote, at the drop of a hat, as the saying goes. Even going to the dentist is difficult. When I left, they said, "Can we make a next appointment?" And the hygienist says, "No." Yep, that did it. Just that. The most recent roadblock in my head is the upcoming holiday, Thanksgiving. I guess I just don't want to miss out on the holiday, but I also don't want to make it a bummer for everyone else. My emotions are pretty raw on this, as I feel boxed in. Not by anyone, but just by the expectations of what holidays are and have always been. It's difficult thinking about facing one's last holiday of any kind. It's sad. But it's more the finality of it. What do you do with those feelings? December 1st, okay. All caps. Today is another holiday here in Durham. It's my 63rd birthday. It will be a fun-filled day, starting with the obligatory hospice nurse visit in the morning. Jan is here to help me and Evan celebrate. My birthday was really fun. It was the best one in the last several years. It was just like an avalanche of presents and fun. December 11th. This is the last week before we leave for Paris. I'm a little intimidated about getting around in Paris, but I believe I can manage it if I'm very careful. I will just need to rest whenever I need to and not let it get me down. I will be just so thrilled to be there. Just arose at 4:30 a.m. Ugh. There were a few embers left in the wood stove, so I rekindled the fire from last night. It's so cozy and pretty. The animals are less than impressed, and each are cuddled into a different piece of furniture or a corner of a rug. December 30th. I will say that it was worth it to get to go to Paris, even though it was a quick trip, but it was such fun. I really wasn't sure if I'd be able to get through it with my energy level and illness, but I think we did the best job we could have, trying to manage seeing some highlights and then adding in a few extra things we wanted to see. Now, I'm wondering if I should try to visit Jill one more time. If so, do it on my own. Give Evan some peace and quiet he deserves. Something to ponder. My heart aches beyond anything I can stand. Really. It's not easy being in a place where we are so alone and yet we are so connected. I know Evan feels complete responsibility for me and my care, but right now I'm relatively independent. And so it's an odd combination of how much do I do for myself and how much does he do for me, while trying to keep himself sane and me as sane as I can be right now. Being a couple is a master class in putting yourself first to buoy and support your partner. You cannot have a true partnership without making that commitment. Then the trickle-down effect should kick in so that you are both supported with life jackets, come hell or high water. It may not be pretty, but you're together. Is it the otter couples that hold hands as they sleep so they won't drift apart? That fits here to me somehow. Hold on together. Today, I have a short amount of time left in this life. That is a hard thing to face every day. Every day should count, no matter your situation. But the days easily slip one into the next without notice for most people. Is there a way to make every day count at this juncture for me? Certainly. But what is the methodology? Is there such a thing at this time? I wake early most mornings and write my thoughts here. Most mornings, I cry while I do it. I can't seem to stop the tears in the mornings when I'm alone. It seems ridiculous to me to sit and cry every morning. But maybe it helps get me on track for the day, to be thankful. I am thankful for every day and wish I could make every day special for those around me. However, everyone has to make their own joy and happiness. You cannot be responsible for anyone else's joy. That is a hard lesson to learn and live by.
expresses sincere thanks to all who have come to celebrate Julie's life and support and comfort her family. Finally, Julie specifically said that this gathering should not be any more morose than necessary. And so now, she would have said, we've cried enough. It's time to party. Hit it, Tom.
Sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever an honest word, but that was when I